Here we are then. WOR Season 19 Round 3 here at Singapore. Hopefully we're in for another enthralling race. A repeat of last week would be nice. Lots of chaos, lots of moves. Hopefully lots of action as well.
Good evening.
Good evening, Zomball. How are you doing today, bud? Eight of us in the lobby at the moment. Hopefully we can get a few more in. If not, we'll be starting soon. Not sure how many on the attendance list. I'll take a quick look. So we've got 12 on the attendance, possibly 13, so we are missing a good few drivers. Obviously, Marina Bay is one of the more technical circuits on the calendar. Slightly less technical after the recent changes towards the end of the lap, removing the grandstand section. Very iconic section actually, where they'd dip right out towards the Marina Bay and cut back in underneath the grandstand. But of course, any sort of weather conditions just makes it, well, impossible to have a high average speed, but does make some thrilling racing if you can pull it off. 19 corners, many of which are very slow speed and technical then. Hopefully we can have an enthralling race. Still missing a few though. In the meantime, anyone that's watching, hope you've had a good day. Hopefully you can have an evening of entertainment with Console Tier 6 here at Singapore. Just getting the final few drivers in then. Should be going in a few minutes. Be a short quali 50% race, so 31 laps around Marina Bay. Tends to be dry. In real life, it tends to be dry as well. I think there's only been 2 instances of a wet Singapore Grand Prix in the 15 times it's held it. But that doesn't mean it's not impossible. Off we go then. The drivers will be hoping and praying that it stays dry. But I wouldn't mind a bit of mixed conditions. Just spice this thing up and adds an extra element of skill needed to deal with the conditions. Separates the good drivers from the great drivers. Appears to be a dry qualifying. So everyone will be going out on the soft tyres. Some drivers might do 2 runs, some might opt for 3, depending on whether they want to save tyres for the race. But their main objective for this first lap would just to be to get something on the board. Something as a reference. It doesn't necessarily need to be full out push mode at this point. Just trying to get the feel of the circuit, settle in, and then go for pole later on. We're going to have a few drivers heading out on track for their out laps. We're looking to get some tyre temperature. It's reasonably easy to do around here. There's a lot of corners to do it, but a lot of them are quite low speed, so you really have to crank the steering lock on. First driver going round will be the RB of the right cow. He'll be hoping to improve on his performance from last week, where unfortunately he got disqualified for track limits infringements. One of nearly every single driver in that field, 11 out of the 12 drivers, to pick up track limits penalties. However, he was the only one to be disqualified for doing that. So we're looking to keep it within the white lines today. 2 RBs going around together, maybe try to give each other toes. As the RB will sweep through the final corner and become the first to start their flying lap here in this qualifying session. Important to get this first section correct. He just has a little bit of oversteer slide there as it really sets up your lap. Once you have a bad first section, you're constantly in your mind trying to make up that time and overdriving the car. Richard perhaps getting a distant tow there from his teammate. Into sector 2 we go now. Very cautious out towards that wall. You don't want to be pushing the boundaries too early and risking getting damage. A lovely cut there though. And down over the Anderson Bridge into the hairpin. easy to run outside of track limits, but he keeps it in play. Very easy to do it there as well, where the track comes back on you. Down towards the final few corners then, turn 16 and 17 at this little chicane. Right up to the wall on the exit. And it should be flat out, and is flat out through the final corners to set a 126.9 as the initial banker lap. The old Richard 7/10 down. Ferrari is invalidated. Mercedes of Milos will be next. And he goes P2 with a 127.4. He'll be fairly happy with that banker time. Here's the Haas of Christian, looks to have invalidated his previous lap and this lap, so he'll be on his in lap to get a fresh set of boots on. The McLaren of Pesci will be next as he approaches the final few corners. He'll be hoping to trouble the low 27s. Flicks it in, and oh, that's a big off. There's a big off for the McLaren there. He's nearly done a Carlos Sainz, but has kept it out of the wall. That could have been session ending for the McLaren there. Very, very lucky. There's still a few drivers yet to come out of the pits and set a representative lap time. These drivers will probably be doing 2 runs rather than the 3 that the others might be doing. As the Williams of Ivan Rogers comes across the Anderson Bridge on his outlap. Building tyre temperature all the way. Getting himself mentally psyched for what is a very mental lap round here as much as anything, because it just relentlessly comes at you, these slow technical sections. It's all too easy to get a bit too eager on the throttle, have the rear slide out, and then you're in all sorts of trouble, because then you've compromised your entry to the next corner. We're right on board with the Williams of Ivan Rocher then, as he heads into turn 1. Very nice and tidy through there. Giving plenty of breadth to the track limits, not wanting to risk an invalidation. Hard on the brakes into turn 5. There's a lot of 90-degree corners now. Right, left, and left again. Welcome in Zelanovic. Through the old Singapore sling that used to be a very technical left, right, left, but has now been replaced with a simple left turn. All too easy to lock up into the turn 13 hairpin, but he's navigated that nicely. Now keep it in play on the exit of 15. He's just about done there. He has a lot of VRS in the tank though. And maybe he could be using that a bit more efficiently. We're coming to the final corners now. What's the time going to be? The 127.9. He'll be looking to perhaps find a bit more time than that. He's second off the pace as it stands. And now we'll watch Simone on his first flying lap of the session. A lot of drivers opting to use the higher gears for better traction. You can see that he's used a lot more ERS than the Williams driver, so maybe he was a bit more aggressive with his outputs. As he now comes through the final corner, what's the time going to be? So 1:27.0, that's the closest anybody has come to the initial banker set by Right Cow. Just over a tenth away. As now Richard starts his second flying lap. About 7/10 of the gap to pole. He'll be hoping that he can find some big gains on this lap. Generally it is the second run where you'll find the majority of your time, as he is up nearly 2/10 in the first sector. You can often find that on the third run you don't really gain that much if you've had a good second run. Well, split for sector 3, he's nearly 4/10 up. This is shaping up to be a good banker, or I say banker, a good second run for Richard here. Not much time potentially to be found in the final sector, as they remove that technical bit under the grandstand a couple of years ago. Oh, he's done the same as the McLaren. Spun out of the final corner. And all of that work, all of that mental struggle goes down the drain. He'll have to reset and go again. Swap to Milos, who is 4.5 up. Puts him right in the shout for provisional pole. Can he avoid doing what Richard did and make it to the line in one piece? And without invalidating. He does. What's the time going to be? He goes fastest. Goes fastest with a 1:26.8. He'll be happy with that. What reply did the 8 other drivers have? His Right Cow is 3/10 up in the first sector. He's on a blinder. Really wanting to show that he is better than what happened last week. As unfortunately he has invalidated, so that's all going to be for nothing. In the meantime, the Haas of Christian has gone fastest by a further 2/10 with a 26.6. His times are getting lower and lower. I don't think we'll see any times in the 25s, but I could be proven wrong. It's towards the end of this lap, the McLaren manages to not spin and goes fourth, just 3 thousandths behind Right Cow. I don't think anyone else is on a lap now as Richard returns to the pits. Pesci's on an in lap. So is Milos. And Christian, I think, is as well. Which leaves the Red Bull of Lenima, who had a great race last time out. Came from last to nearly first. Last to podium. He'll be hoping to repeat a similar thing today. He would, of course, like to actually get a decent qualifying so he doesn't have to put in all that extra work in the race. But we know that he can do the overtaking, so it might not fret him too much. Up over the Anderson Bridge. into the turn 13 hairpin. Careful not to lock the front, otherwise you will be in the outside wall. There's 3 DRS zones here on this game, 4 in real life of course. But that's plenty enough to set up a move here. But as the great Murray Walker says, it's one thing to catch somebody, it's another thing to pass them. You can be half a second a lap faster around a track like this and you can just get stuck. As the Nima sets a 28.6 banker. I say banker, he might not have enough time to get round again, so I hope he's got enough fuel. As all these drivers will be going out for their final runs in a minute. A couple of them have gone out early, those being the 2 RBs. Potentially reversing the tow they went for earlier. As the right cow is the lead car, so Richard will be getting the benefit of that. Seems to be pushing an awful lot for considering it's an out lap. Maybe he's struggling with tyre temperatures. Right cow will be the first to start their final run of the session though, as everyone else is still in the pit lane. We know that he's got time up his sleeve. A lot of time up his sleeve. What can he pull out of the bag here? Down to turn 1 we go then. Flick right, flick left, right and left again. Got my directions built up then. Through the fast right-hander of turn 4, one of the quickest corners on this track, right up to the wall. He powers down the boulevard. Got to hook your car over that curve as he does so nicely. That's the very tricky right-hander, a lot tighter than you think it is. Right up to the wall and nearly touching it. My goodness, that was close. Flick it right through turn 10, get the cut nicely, which he does, keeps it valid. Over the Anderson Bridge, I haven't seen the split times. But this looks like a very tidy lap so far. Bit of VRS left to burn as well, he hasn't overused it. 2.5 tenths up. We're looking for slightly more though in this final sector if he's to challenge for provisional pole. He's right there in the mix. See all of the other drivers yet to come. Will this be provisional pole for Right Cow? It will not. So provisional P2, a 126.7, which means that the Haas of Christian retains that top spot. Richard is retired in the pits, clearly not happy with that lap. Milos has missed turn 2, but it kept him valid. So we will continue with this lap. I don't think the Right Cow's going to have enough time to go for another run. So he'll be hoping that this man cannot displace him. Again, I haven't seen the split time, so we'll have to look at his sector 2. Nice and tidy through the hairpin. No oversteering on the exit. He is 2 tenths up. Again, this puts him right in the mix. Can he hold that advantage and can he keep it valid through this final technical section? Two corners to go then. What's the time going to be? The 126.5. There's the challenge to beat, as it appears. The Haas was going very slowly then. I don't think he's on a lap, or I think he's bailed out of this one. Yep, that's it for Christian. He'll be very disappointed with that. He could have been in for the shout here. What can Pesci do? Can Pesci displace Christian? He taps the ball on the exit there, right up to the limit. Can he compound the Haas's misery? Yes, he can. Up to P2 for Pesci, down to P3 for Christian. He'll be kicking himself. The Williams is 2 tenths down going into the final sector. I don't think there's going to be an improvement enough to elevate his place. But what an end to that qualifying session. It shows that keeping your lap valid can be key here. I'd imagine that if the right cow had kept that first lap valid, where he was 3 tenths up in the first sector, that could have been a very different story. For your qualifying order then, Milos takes pole for Mercedes here in Singapore, followed by Pesci in P2 in the McLaren. Christian in the Haas will be kicking himself for that final run. Raikkonen P4, Simone P5, Tommy P6, Richard P7, Vibin Roche P8, and Lanima, just as it was last week, at the back of the pack. So now will be a break for the drivers to put on their setups and do what they need to do. Looks like it's going to be a dry start at least, and knowing Singapore, it's likely to be a dry race. Has someone readied up early again? Oh, someone's readied up early again for the second week in a row. Lobby reset. There will be a lobby reset, new lobby. Yeah, we'll reset, the grid will be reordered, and we'll go again. Hopefully the second take will be all we need. The lobby reset takes about 10 minutes. Maybe they need to put in a reminder every week that you don't ready up, because otherwise we get into these situations and it just wastes everyone's time. 31 laps ahead of us then. We now have 10 drivers, as David Savat has joined. He'll be starting from the rear of the field, so both Red Bulls will occupy that 5th row. Or at least he was on the Red Bull, he's now in the Mercedes. So it'll be a Mercedes sandwich then, as Milos is our pole sitter, of course. And by the looks of it, we're going to get a pretty quick restart, which is what we like to see. I'm assuming it'll be the same weather as the original start. Yeah, a dry race then, by the looks of it. Hopefully they can avoid a repeat of 2017 here, where I'm sure you all remember what happened at Turn 1 and the chaos that ensued. And the many hundreds of thousands of pounds worth of damage caused that day. Luckily for the drivers though, they're in a video game, so if they do crash, not going to cost them a penny. Drivers now just putting on their setups and getting ready to go racing here in Singapore. For this console tier 6 race, round 3 of the season. So with the recent graphics update, these cars should be looking stupendous under these Singaporean lights. This was the very first ever night race, of course, back in 2008. First time you could see the reflections off of these very expensive, very delicate, very intricate machines that are F1 cars. As there appears to have been another Another mistake in the lobby setup. So here we go again. For another restart. Take 3, anyone? Maybe it'll be third time lucky. Yeah, I can't say anything because I miss out settings as well all the time in my league, so it's a very easy thing to do. Hopefully though it should be a fairly quick restart with just one setting needing to be changed. And it will be a dry race throughout. For the third time tonight then. Third time lucky, eh? We're ready to go racing. The drivers, I imagine, will have probably a bit shorter break to put on their setups. But then we'll get going. We've nearly taken up the time it takes for a full quali. It's only meant to be a short quali.
Lines L L L L L L L N N M L.
Sally Fury, welcome in. Hope your day's been good. Hope you're ready for an evening of entertainment. As these 10 console Tier 6 drivers take on the streets of Singapore around this Marina Bay circuit. Be a dry race throughout, so no need to worry about conditions for the drivers, which they'll be happy about. They've just got to worry about keeping their cars out of the ever-looming walls that surround this Marina Bay circuit. One snap and it could all be over. One misjudgment. One lapse in concentration. And it could all come crashing down. Milos and the Mercedes will start from pole position, followed by the McLaren, and then the Haas. Have a look at the race director. Then Milos and the Mercedes on pole, Pesci in the McLaren P2, followed by Christian in P3. Any of those three could lead into turn 1. We'll have to see. The right cow P4 had pace in qualifying, just couldn't quite put the lap together when it came to it. But we'll see where he and the rest of the drivers can get to. Driver just doing their final pre-race checks, making sure their setups are correct as we go to the 5 red lights, and we're underway here in Singapore. Both of the top two seem to have a relatively even start as they head into turn 1, but Pesci leads as the Mercedes goes wide. Hopefully they'll keep it clean. But Pesci has had the dream start from the front row up to P1 now, as that's a Ferrari in the background into the wall of Simone. Is that front wing damage? It must be. Yes, it is. He's got severe front wing damage on the right hand side. As we head back to the front of the pack, Pesci will be looking to hopefully break away. Does that sound like another car in the wall then? They head towards turn 10 now. The majority have survived. And I didn't even put on the tyres, they're all on mediums, so they're all be doing a medium to hard strategy here, as long as there are those safety car interventions. I'm assuming that the safety car is on, I haven't actually checked. Apologies for this, I just got to check to make sure that I am correct, and yes they are on, so we could have a safety car intervention. They come round to complete lap 1 then. Pesci leads from Milos in 2nd place and Christian in 3rd, followed by Ratcal in 4th, so the top 2 swap around. Haas and the RB stay put. Interesting though now, as they head down Raphael's Boulevard for the second time. How will DRS affect things? Of course it is enabled after the very first lap here. Will Milos go for it? Yes, he will. Leads in the space. Fair racing from these two. The McLaren looks to hang on for another lap. It's very difficult to overtake around here unless you're doing it with DRS. Just behind this, the Haas and the RB will be hoping that these two can trip up over each other. They'll be sat right there trying to exploit that as the RB goes for the dive and they make contact. A very audacious dive there from right cow. Just made contact with the side pod of the Haas, and that's nearly turned him round fully. He'll be looking to shake it off and recover. Try and get back to this top group. massively varying ERS levels here. I'm not going to say specific numbers because I don't want to give anything away, but very varying ERS levels across the field. Richard sets the fastest lap. And as well, starting where he's let off last week, the right car becomes the first driver to pick up a track limits penalty on lap 3 of this Singapore Grand Prix. It's down the inside, Mercedes tries again, the same move as last lap. Nearly gets a switchback but just blocked off there. Once again, the McLaren holds firm. We're well on board with the Haas now. Over the Anderson Bridge towards the hairpin. Beautiful section of track this, I must say. Very intricate. Down the inside, the Williams thought about it. He thought about it down into turn 14. Couldn't quite pull it off though. Will he try again? Into 16, yes he does. Minor contact is made. Holds it around the outside. There's no way he's going to do this around the final corner. He cuts in and does pull it off, however. Fair play to him. As now the Haas might be taken by 2 cars in 2 corners. Not quite. The RB just thinks better of it down into turn 1. Back up front, these top 2 I think have broken DRS. They have. Top 2 have broken DRS from the Williams and will now look to run away. If they can build a gap, then they can start fighting between themselves. Get these beautiful aerial shots there from the helicopter. The RB of right cow is all over the Williams' rear end as he looks to try and find a gap. Goes for the inside move once again. Can he put it off this time? The traction race down to turn 14. But the Williams got the DRS there. He must have been ahead at the apex. Think again. We'll have to try and repass him in a more convenient spot. The Haas sets the fastest lap from 1:30.9. He's just on the fringes of that DRS currently. Got to keep it within that 1 second as we head down to turn 4. Yellow in sector 2 for the Mercedes of David. And he has bridged that gap again. That's Richard off in the background. The RB loses it out of turn 4. Easy to do at the beginning of a race with heavy cars, and now he's got all the work to do, just as he did last week in Kota. Up front though, Pesci has led this race from the start after getting past Milos at turn 1, and for now he has survived the DRS threat. As David does retire in the pit lane after a fairly dismal start. Once again, the RB of right cowers all over the back of the Williams. But as you'll find as a common theme around this Singapore track, it's very difficult to make a pass. Even into turn 1. Turn 1's a relatively quick corner. There's only one line through it as he closes up right up. And Pesci has disconnected. This is horrible for the McLaren driver. His incredible start, I was just saying about how incredible his start was, all goes down the drain. The AI and the ghosting is going to put him down to nearly the back. That is so unfortunate for the McLaren. But it does mean that the Mercedes of Milos has been freed from his constraints. And can now start to use some of that 100% battery to try and break away from the Haas. But I don't know if he's going to be able to do that. They're all staying fairly close to him, all within 6 tenths. As Christian becomes the second driver to pick up a track limits penalty, that could become crucial later on if he's still in this lead battle. As just behind these two, the Williams and the RB still fighting it out. The RB will be hoping that the top two can pull away enough to break DRS here. Otherwise, they're just going to get stuck behind each other. I think Pesci is back in the race now. So he hasn't lost as much time as I thought or I feared he might have. They're so late on the brakes down into that hairpin. Almost looks like they're going to rear end the car in front every single time. What do you think about the dive? Not quite, he was sensible. Will he have the run now though? Down towards the final few corners. Not quite, the Haas pulls away just enough so that the dive under the brakes isn't viable, as he has an oversteer snap there. As we look behind, the RB is ever looming. Under any normal circumstances, this would be an easy overtake for Raikkonen. But because of the DRS, you just can't get close. As behind, we're getting a beautiful view of the McLaren going down the inside. I don't think he's pulled it off though. I think the RB has indeed held on. But look at that, that's dropped him out of DRS. These two fighting has perhaps cost them dear. Now we need to get back within that 1 second if they're to have any chance. He goes for the re-overtake. So all getting a bit feisty in the mid pack. All four of them together. As the McLaren of Pesci has gone from 5th to 7th in the matter of half a lap. Oh, that's the right cow on the wall. Right cow in the wall. The RB driver just lost the car there out of this third last corner, and he'll be in the pits probably for a new wing and a set of hard tyres. The RB team not having a good race today. Richard having his own troubles earlier on, and now the right cow spinning to the wall. Back up front though, the top three are very close together, nose to tail in fact. They've broken clear of Pesci in P4. I will see how feisty they're willing to get. We've seen some drivers in this race go for that move at the Anderson hairpin, but this lot, a bit more sensible maybe, decide to avoid that one. Behind though, they're right back at it. The Red Bull and the McLaren battling hard. Will the McLaren go for the dive? Thinks better of it. Going to try and set it up down the DRS straight, either towards turn 1 or turn 5. That was a great final corner though for Lenima, who I must add, has started from the back once again for this race and is now up to P4. Great drive from the Red Bull driver. Will Milos be overtaken by one car here? Or two cars? Or no cars as it might be. Maybe just holding back a bit. These two not wanting to lead the train. Maybe waiting until after the pit stops, as that was in the wall from the Haas. Hope he hasn't got any damage. Because if an end plate's gone off of that front wing, that could be costing him dear through the many corners here. Is that front wing intact? It is just about, cosmetically at least. As the right car picked up his second track limit penalty the other day, I believe. There's someone, the brief yellow there, I believe, for the McLaren. Maybe gone straight on there at turn 15. Just over a third distance here in this console tier 6 round 3 here at Singapore. Your pole sitter, Milos, after falling behind Pesci in the first 5 laps, has recovered the lead after Pesci had an unfortunate disconnect and now leads from the Haas of Christian and the Williams of Weibenroj. Those three have broken clear of Lenima, who started from the back for the second race in a row. He is followed by Superb Tommy, Pesci after the disconnect, and then the 3 drivers who have been involved in incidents, the 2 RBEs and Simone. Back to present day, and that is a very slidey and twitchy Haas. Lucky to keep it out of the wall. As Milos nearly, very nearly, breaking DRS now. They've got to be careful. It's all too easy to do here. Is once again the Haas slides. And he has broken away. The Mercedes of Milos has broken the DRS. Has Weibenroj got any reply? Is the Haas pits for the undercut? He'll be going on to the set of hard tyres to the end. But has the Williams got any answer to Milos' newfound pace? They'll be pushing on this in-lap though, which I assume is an in-lap, as to cover off Christian, who has gone on to those fresh hards. We'll see what the undercut's like. As Pesci comes into the pits to go onto his set of hard tyres, Richard takes the fastest lap, 1:30.8. And Pesci will come out at the rear of the field. Milos extending his advantage over Ivan Roj up to 2 seconds now. He's had a stellar lap here. Gained nearly a second on his rival. Where will they come out in relation to the Haas of Christian? This could make or break this race. If Christian has the undercut and he can break away, as the Mercedes goes around again, and the Williams, they are not looking to cover off this undercut. They're looking to have the tyre offset towards the end of the race, go longer than your rival, and hope that the extra freshness of your tyres keeps you in play as you look to close up that gap. As all that was, well, very, very nearly in the wall by the Williams. I don't think there's any damage. But goodness me, you don't want to be getting much closer than that. At the rear of the field then, Pesci and Richard, after both boxing, have come across each other. Pesci will be looking to make quick work of Richard here, as he knows he has probably more pace than the RB driver. But we've seen it before, much faster drivers being stuck behind slower cars on tight and twisty street circuits like this one. Even now he's losing time, look. It's just, there's nowhere to even get two cars alongside each other, let alone past. And it will be destroying his tyres, costing him time as he does pick up a track limits penalty. He's wanting to set off up the road after Simone, but he just can't. As the leaders stay out another lap. Speaking of Simone, he's gone for a little bit of a spinala there out of turn 15. Maybe he's putting on a show for us, but I don't think that's what he would want to have done. But on those hards now for 11 laps, he's probably going to have to stop again, and he does come in. Hopefully this isn't for a retirement, but it might be, as he does pick up his pit lane speeding penalty. Goes on to a new set of mediums. I don't know if they'll be able to go to the end, but an unfortunate day at the office for the Ferrari driver. Up at the front, Milos has now pulled a 4-second gap to the Williams of Ivan Roj. Some incredible pace there for the Mercedes driver. He'll be looking to perhaps overpower any potential undercut from Christian on pure pace, which will be a very impressive feat. As into the back of the RB, Pesci goes, too late on the brakes, couldn't get it slowed down in time, and he has paid the price. He's got all the work to do again now, gap up to 2 seconds. Further up the field, the Neymar, who I will remind you, and I will remind you again, has come from the back of the field, currently sits P3, although it's not an actual P3, but P3 as it stands in this race. This guy really is the king of lasts to question mark challenges. As he just about misses out on the DRS, he's teetering right on that 1 second mark. As the Williams picks up a track limits penalty, And once again, we're in the same position as last week. All drivers bar Milos have picked up track limit penalties, and we're only halfway through this race. As both the Mercedes and the Williams finally come in. Which means that Lanima now leads this race after starting last. Where will these two come out in relation to the Haas? As Richard looks to have had another spin. So the Haas has gone by. They've not managed to cover off the undercut by any means. But they've lost a lot of time here. By not coming in for 4 laps, Milos has lost 6 seconds to Christian. Oh, the chase is well and truly on here. In round 3 of WOR Season 19, Console Tier 6 here at Singapore, Milos has got all the work to do. Christian must have been putting in some incredible lap times. And that is more than 1 second per lap. Don't know what penalties he's got. Unfortunately, he has 6 seconds of track limit penalties, which kind of negates his current advantage. But if he can maintain this sort of pace, you never know, he could pull out 6 seconds. And when the Nima eventually pits, he will be put back in the race lead. Here in the battle for 4th then. The right cow on his older hards in pursuit of Vibin Raj, who was just boxed. Lanima comes in for his stop. Gone 17 laps on those mediums, a very impressive stint. He'll come out just behind this battle. I believe that is a lapped car, the lap car of Simone up the road. Hopefully he'll get out of the way, knows not to interfere with this P3 battle for the podium. Milos has gained half a second on this lap. So I think any hopes of Christian holding on pure pace are fading fast, as that's Christian falling down the field. He's had a spin by looks of it. It's definitely out the window now. The Haas driver over the Anderson Bridge looks to have lost it and hit the wall. There is front left end plate damage, and in the space of, well, 2 or 3 laps here, going from a 6-second lead to now losing P5 and going down to P6. It's all come crashing down for the Haas driver. Tried to make hay while the sun shined, and the sun has severely set on this race for him as he comes into the pits to retire. What a shame for the Haas driver. Right up there in qualifying, looked competitive in the race, but not to be. But this makes Milos's race a lot more simple now. He's done his pit stop. He hasn't got any track limits penalties. He's straight to the end for the final 13 laps here. Just keep it out of the wall. Keep it at the reasonable pace, and he'll be well on his way to victory for the 2nd weekend in a row. As Richard sets a new fastest lap, 1:29.7 on those fresh mediums. That's one thing that I don't think Milos will be able to trouble. difficult he is on the hards, but you never know. Lap 19 of 31 then, here in Singapore. Your Pulsis and Milos leads from the front. Admittedly, he hasn't had it all his own way in the early stages. Pesci, who's down in P6, led before he had an unfortunate disconnect, which put him down in the lower reaches. He then had a pit stop scare where he was undercut massively by Christian, 6-second undercut. But unfortunately, Christian had his own incident at the Anderson Bridge, which led to his eventual retirement in the pit lane. Wyman Roj had a very steady race, out to P2. We're looking to hang on to that. Right behind them is this podium battle between the RB and the Red Bull, the two sister teams. As the Red Bull looks to go round the outside of the RB here, and does so comfortably. Not much of a fight put up there. But I'm not sure there's much that the RB could have done, if I'm brutally honest. Top 6 are all on hards. Those are the ones that I'd say are in with a shout of potential podium here. Richard and Simone, they've had their own various incidents throughout the race. They're just kind of going around until the end to score the points. It's only this P3 and 4 battle at the moment that's fairly close. Most of the rest of the field is spread out quite a lot now. So hopefully these two can give us some action. Could they potentially close up to the Williams of Wyman Roj? We'll have to see. Gap's currently at 2.2. And it appears to be coming down. So we could have a three-way fight for P2 very soon. Right, Carol just needs to be careful here not to fall out of the DRS. That is his ticket to be being dragged along up the road towards P2 here. I think Lanima will be very happy with this result. Once again coming from effectively last to first. Well, last to podium. Let me correct myself there. Last to podium. Doesn't seem to be a particularly strong qualifier, but when it comes to race pace, he's a different beast. And on this lap, he has closed the gap by a full second, and he has dropped the RB of Right Cow from DRS. Lanima's on a charge here. Unfortunately, they both have 6 seconds of penalties, which may curtail that. But at this current pace, he might be able to escape that. He might get DRS here if he can have a good turn 1, 2, 3 sequence. As that is King Carl of... as the right car into the wall, out of the final corner. RB's misery compounded, as that is more front wing damage for the RB driver. Maybe they need to go back to racing school, because they've been having a lot of rear end issues here. I believe that might have been Richard going around for another spin that caused that yellow. As Linema has now got within the DRS. 9/10. Whether you could be 9/10, you could be 1/10. You get DRS either way. He was a bit squirrely out of the turn 13 hairpin there. But he's got his foot in the door now. Just needs to prise it open. Lick the stamp and send it, as a certain Daniel Ricciardo might say. Set it up through 1, 2 and 3, then unleash the power through 4, 5 and 6. He'll be all over the back of the Williams down Raffles Boulevard. And he knows it. The Williams gone defensive, trying to break that toe. Round the outside, that's audacious. Runs out of room. He'll have to go again. Rethink his options. Maybe into turn 10, as the McLaren of Poshy has crashed, and that is a safety car. Now, how does that change things? Pesci, I believe, crashed at turn 6. Very unorthodox place to crash, I must say, if he has done it there. But very unfortunate for the McLaren driver, whose race has not gone according to plan for reasons outside of his control, and now for reasons definitely within his control. And we're down to 7 then. 7 drivers remain in this Singapore Grand Prix. I'd imagine everyone will now come in for a change of tyres, as Milos picks up a 10-second speeding penalty. Oh my goodness me. Is there to be a final twist in the tail here? Has Milos just thrown away the win? We'll have to see. He's gone aggressive on his tyre strategy. Onto the soft tyres, as all of his rivals have gone to mediums. But that's certainly not something that the Mercedes driver would have wanted to see. Just added a bit of extra nuisance, let's say, that he's now got to overcome. As all 7 drivers will now form up behind the safety car. I believe there are some lapped cars. I'm not entirely clued in with the rules on unlapping. But hopefully they're allowed to unlap themselves. Yes, it is very difficult to do around Singapore. There's not many places you can pull off. I think Milos has made the right call here, going with softs. Because this safety car probably isn't going to come in until lap 26. And then it's just a 5-lapper until the end. And of course, in an open lobby, you do 5-lappers, you're on softs. So it only makes sense. Might have been that some of these guys didn't save a set of softs from qualifying. And now they're paying the price. Although it wouldn't mean anything because we had like 3 lobby resets. So scratch that comment. We now effectively have 2 separate races. The top 4 and the bottom 3 who have been lapped. All for the vital points positions. As everyone who finishes the race will score points. Soft tyre sandwich here. First and last on the softs. Everyone else in the middle is on mediums. So I'm not sure there's enough laps left to warrant the mediums. But they've stuck with it now. So that's what they'll have to go with. I don't think the safety car will be in this lap. If it is in this lap, it'll be a very late call. Not every car is formed up behind the safety car yet either, so it will be another lap before we can get racing again. And it will effectively be your open lobby 5-lapper. 5 laps to the end here of this 50% race here at Singapore for console tier 6. As Simone does come into the pits for a new set of softs. 3 DNFs for this race. David Svat very early on after having a few spins. Christian after having a spin of his own after leading by 6 seconds over the Anderson Bridge. And Pesci, who I believe crashed at turn 6. Not sure how he's done it, but very unfortunate for the McLaren driver. I'd imagine what Pesci has done is he's broken too late and just gone into that outside wall. I don't know if he was around anyone at the time, whether there's been contact with another car. But that does only seem like the only logical explanation. Safety car in this lap then. 5 laps to go. Milos needs to put his foot down hard here and try and build a 7-second gap to the Williams of Ivan Roj. He looked so in control here. but has picked up a pit lane speeding penalty at that last stop. Can he do it? We'll find out soon. As we get racing again here in Singapore, Milos leads around the final corner, across the line. He needs to break that DRS over this lap if he's to have any chance of getting that 7 seconds. Have they all unlapped themselves? I think they might all be on the lead lap now. So that's great. 7-car battle for the lead then. Milos is just on the cusp of breaking that DRS. 3/4 of a second the advantage. Now 8 tenths. Now 9 tenths. He's got one more sector to do it. Got to burn that ERS. He's got a lot of ERS spare. Surely he's got to be thinking about burning it. Gap's down to 6.5 tenths. I don't think he's going to do it. And if he hasn't done it, this could get very, very miserable for Milos here. Because the top 3, or the top 4 rather, have stayed with him. And a 7-second gap is not going to be generated. He might not even finish on the podium. And after dominating for most of the race, I don't think any of us were predicting this. And he might now break the DRS, but I think it's too late. He's not got enough time to generate a gap. He has now broken the DRS, but with only 4 laps to go, how much can he extend his advantage? If at all. And once again, the Williams has just found himself back inside the DRS. And for another lap, Milos has not managed to pull away. Further back, Simone and Richard right to the inside. Can't even see them through the smoke. These 3 have been chilling, having this probably quite amazing battle here. Completely away from the main spotlight. But we'll give them the spotlight now, shall we? There's 3 laps to go here in Singapore. Every place here nearly has got to be decided. Milos trying his best to escape the clutches of Ivan Roger after picking up a pit lane speeding penalty. He's going to struggle to do so as that's Lanima pushed into the wall. Very unfortunate for the Red Bull driver. He's missing his front right end plate. And that could be the end of his charge for P2 maybe. Depends how much the damage is affecting his turning. Two to go. still a lot of places to sort. Battles all over the field as Superb Tommy DRS has passed Richard. Milos has generated a 2.5 second gap. Still nowhere near the 7 seconds he needs. He runs off the road, however. You can tell he's pushing hard. This needs to be a set of Lewis Hamilton 2018 qualifying laps if he is to get that gap. Into the back of the Red Bull, Right Cow goes, practically pushing him through the hairpin. So it's these final 3 podium spots, well, the final 2 or 3, depending on the penalties and the gaps, can be sorted out here as we go on to the final lap here in Singapore. Who's going to win this one? Right Cow goes for it in the turn 1. Red Bull's still there though. Thinks better of it. Then tries to let him through. I think there was a slight miscommunication there. Because now he's going to power back past him. Maybe the stewards might look at that. But we'll see. This is helping Milos's chances of a podium here because that gap is 6 seconds to P3 now. Maybe if they hadn't been battling so hard, Milos would not have been on the podium. Apart from the pit lane speeding penalty, an absolute dominant performance from Milos, however. Unfortunately though, those sorts of mistakes do not come without punishment. And he will feel the full force of that punishment today. As he comes across the line, P1, but the Williams of Vibe and Raj will win here in Singapore. Milos will take second. Simone takes third. Goodness me. Surprise podium sitter. Doesn't get much more surprising than that. Simone was a lap down in last place in the early stages of this race. And he's come through to take a podium. I don't think much stranger things have happened this season. Your final running order then. Vibing Raj, after chilling in P2 most of the race, takes advantage of Milos's pit lane speeding penalty to take the win. Milos will be very disappointed with that mistake. Takes the fastest lap, finishes P2. Simone with an incredible podium after 4 pit stops. Unbelievable. Lanima last to P4. Superb Tommy P5. Richard P6. The Right Cow P7 with his 15 seconds of track limit penalties. And then your 3 DNFs of Pesci, Christian and David. And next week we're off to Las Vegas, the home of glitz and glamour, also the home of slipstreaming. So we'll hope to see you then next week. Hope you've enjoyed tonight, and we'll see you then. Goodbye.